Welcome to the netherworld. We don't know what's happening. Just how much of a pause are we leaving? Stream will commence shortly. Stream will commence shortly.
Okay. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Did you hear any of that?
No.
No.
Okay, so essentially what happened was Discord just quit just as the show started. Just as the show started. And also I noticed that Google has updated everything. So in between I left for lunch and came back, I can't access my other accounts. I'm sorry, guys. Well, what can you say? It's another day at Honey Badger Radio. Should I start with the intro?
Can I just point out, though, on the stream page, it still says waiting.
Really? Because on this page, I've been watching it go for the last, 2 minutes.
Really?
Okay. Yeah, you hear me now, but you didn't hear me do the intro, did you guys?
No.
This is the critical issue. Because Discord just dropped me just as I started the intro, and I didn't even notice. Okay, let me just, you know what? Fuck Discord. Fuck Google. Coming to you live from deep within an icy and window and sometimes also sunny and occasionally technically inept radioactive meme land. We are the survivors of the alt-right apocalypse. The few, the brave, the bitchy, once more wading into battle against the froggy hordes with Rantzerker number 92. Theft not black, fraud not Jewish, rape not male. TLDR style. Okay, if you've been living under a rock, let me give you a rundown what's happening on YouTube. Google doesn't like our kind and will be reducing our ability to use its platform to advance our free speech. It's already started and it's just going to ramp up. Okay, who the hell is typing?
Sorry, that's me.
Okay, just
I'm letting one of your streams hasn't gone live, so I'm just sending the link to the people in that stream so they can get to one on the other channel.
That is very unusual. What the hell just happened there?
Oh, now I can't even type in this. Google! Jesus Christ, get your shit together. Come on, guys.
Well, Google just timed a complete update just as we went live, so... Well, it looks like I can at least switch the account, see what's going on the other... No, I don't need to do that. So it's the one on Honey Badger Radio that isn't fucking working. Maybe they got rid of our live streaming capabilities again. Sorry, guys, this is just a thing.
As I said before we begin, Honey Badger Radio, unique relationship with the gremlins.
Yes.
It's a good thing we got
there will always be a gremlin.
Is this why we got two of them? Because it's pretty likely that one of them's going to fuck up.
No, it's pretty... Yeah, well, actually, it's pretty... More to the point, it's pretty likely that at some point... this stream is fucked up. It isn't even going. You know what? I'll page Doc Bray and see what's going up with that. But yeah, what's actually more likely is that Google will hit one of them with a strike, which will take away our live streaming capabilities. So
okay,
I
though, you are live on the Badger live streams one though, and everyone is going over there now. So
okay, good.
victory has been assured in a slightly roundabout capacity.
Okay, I'm still gonna page Doc Bray, make sure. Is the main channel is not picking up the live stream. Okay, I've done my duty with error notification. All right, let's I guess
This
go
is
on.
probably
Let's
my
move on.
fault, folks. I've taken over from Brian's usual duties, and there's a hell of a lot of steps in all this behind the scenes.
No, this is actually can't possibly be your fault because this is something on Doc Bray's end. So, all right, let's do this. I don't need to do the intro again. Let me get to the point about Google not liking our kind and restricting our free speech on its platform. Like it throttles, it demonetizes. I suspect that when it demonetizes, it also reduces how much it actually serves up your content in the related algorithm. So I've demonetized the entire main channel completely. Thank you, Merc. Appreciate the love. Anyway, so it's a shit show, and it's going to get worse until they just decide to pull the plug entirely. So if you don't want to wake up one morning and find Honey Badger Radio completely gone from your mental landscape, I suggest you go over to the RSS aggregator feed that I have set up at badgerfeed.com. That is badgerfeed.com, and sign up for notifications. Do it right now. Just take the 7 seconds it would take to keep in contact with us. Because imagine that. Just wake up one morning and you can't listen to my dulcet tones, my strident screeching. Well, or anybody else. You know, if you'd probably prefer to listen to it. But anyway, go to badgerfeed.com and sign up for the notifications. You will get push notifications on your desktop. I'm working on making them available for your mobile, and you will never miss another Honey Badger Radio anything ever again. Badgerfeed.com. All right. Do you want to get started, guys? Can you still hear me? Did I just try?
Sorry,
Yeah,
I have to
we
unmute
can.
two things in order to unmute because of
Okay.
OBS thing going on.
Okay, all right. This is going to be probably a shit show, but it's our shit show. Do you want to start, Mike? Read the abstract. Oh, maybe I should say what we're discussing today.
Yes.
Oh
God, she's gone, is she? Right,
you just rage quit from the show in advance.
Okay.
Let's talk about what we're gonna do. No, I can't face another one.
Yeah, maybe Google's actually got her this time. Maybe that's the last one.
Oh, very possible. That's kind of in the name of professionalism. Shall we continue without her?
All we needed to do was the title and stuff. Okay, so sexual violence in the quote Manosphere : Antifeminist men's rights discourses on rape by Lisa Gotel. I've heard that name before. Where have I heard that name before? And Emily Dutton. Abstract. This paper. Oh God. This paper explores the role that men's rights activism, MRA, is playing in a contemporary backlash to feminist anti-rape activism. We engage in a discourse analysis of popular MRA websites to reveal a set of interrelated claims, including that sexual violence, like domestic violence, is a gender-neutral problem, that feminists are responsible for erasing men's experiences of victimization, that false allegations are widespread, and that rape culture is feminist-produced moral panic. We argue that sexual violence is emerging as a new focus of the men's rights movement, competing with a long-standing emphasis on fathers' rights. The subject of MRA activism has shifted and is becoming less familial and more sexual. MRAs appear to be using the issue of rape to mobilize young men and to exploit their anxieties about shifting consent standards and changing gender norms. Keywords: sexual assault, rape, anti-feminism, men's rights activism, backlash. Oh, no anality this time.
Ah, what a shame.
That's our
Our scholarly level has decreased a little bit.
Oh, she's back. Hello.
Hey.
Holy shit! I just got dumped again. I'm sorry, guys.
It's good. We just read out the abstract. We're carrying on.
So you didn't even you didn't even hear my spiel about Lise Gotel and their in his or her battle with. Sorry for misdoing your pronouns there, Elise. I can't even handle the regular ones, much less all of the elaborate ones. In her ongoing battle with Men's Rights Edmonton. You didn't hear any of that, eh?
Oh, we heard
Nope.
it now.
Yeah, well, she's in an ongoing battle. Well, not an ongoing. I think it's quiet. It's simmered down since Nick Redding has, I don't know, I don't think he's moved on so much as it's got quieter, just a smaller group. But yeah, this is essentially a blog post complaining about someone telling her that she's wrong, as one would want to publish in a supposedly a reputable journal on crime and justice. Is anyone surprised by this anymore?
No, I'm really not. I mean, given the last feminist so-called academic paper which I read about the MRM, and that one was I don't know if either of you guys have watched it, the one where the author basically just said that the men's rights movement is an emotional reaction to the fact that feminism is winning, so now they're just crying like little babies because feminists have set their framework where they can't dismiss people's feelings, and that men have the castration anxiety, and the only reason that they're being men's rights activists is to try to grow this big metaphorical penis to compensate for the fact that they've apparently lost theirs, and that what they really need to do is just learn to absolutely love getting fucked in the ass.
And all of this just to delegitimize subjectivity when it comes to men, because men don't have experiences. They just have the desire to oppress others with all every possible way that a man could be in pain or express pain is just the desire to build the metaphorical penis to beat people over the head with.
I've read a lot of these things now, and they all seem to amount to one very long playground taunt. Because
Yes.
it's couched in the language of academic jargon. It's supposed to sound like something that belongs in academia. Ugh.
Yeah, no, if you actually still regard academia as having some kind of validity or authority, just dive into the realm of gender studies, robust feminist arguments from gender studies publications, or apparently also crime and justice publications. Just dive in there and read some of that shit. You will lose all respect for academia. And I know it's not all branches of academia that are doing this, but they are enabling it. They're sitting down and not saying, "Hey, you know what? This is unscientific bullcrap." They're not doing it. They're not standing up, because in my experience, the vast majority of academics are utter cowards and also intellectually dishonest. I'm just putting it out there. I'm walking away from that. But I think this is indicative of a deeper corruption and problem in academia. But shall we? I didn't actually read I read this like years ago when it was published. When was this fucking thing published? Oh, 2016. So I guess it wasn't years, a year ago.
On the internet, that's like a decade at least, though.
Yeah, it feels like it. Feels like I don't know, sometime like 5-6 years ago, I just stepped onto a people mover moving at like 60 miles an hour, and I haven't been able to get off since. Everything just keeps getting worse. It's like a people mover down into hell. Okay.
Well, at least as time goes on, I do have to, in some ways, try to commend the feminists for doing this. They're actually now addressing, in some capacity, what the MRM is saying. Even though the last one that I looked at, it was, well, we can't deny how people feel, except for men's rights activists, because they're lying about their feelings, so we need to find a way of invalidating them. Yeah, because you can lie about your feelings if you're a man and a men's rights activist. Yeah. So they're kind of trying. They're just doing it in the weakest way possible, and really they address ultimately straw men of what the MRM is, as opposed to actually taking on the big points. And I've even seen authors again just say, well, there's people talking about intactivism and the objectively measurable differences between things like child custody rates, but we're not going to address that this time. Instead, what we're going to do is talk about an internet forum where one guy said that one time, men are just fucked. And turn all of this into a giant psychological peep through the anal window into the men's rights movement, where everything is related to sex.
Oh my god! I just refresh as you were. I was listening, and that was hilarious. And I just refreshed myself on the abstract. Essentially, that she's going to refute the notion that feminists are responsible for erasing men's experiences of victimization. Because of course, rape, domestic violence, and all of these other experiences of victimization are, in her parlance, not gender neutral. Well, it's one or the other. If you cannot prove that this is gender neutral, then you are indeed erasing male victims, because they're victims, and in order to maintain this as being a woman only problem, you sort of have to get rid of the inconvenient victims. Shall we continue?
Yeah, I think so. One thing which I would like to note before we go actually into the thing proper, we've got this sort of statement here that sexual violence is emerging as a new focus of the men's rights movement. Now, in some ways, I actually think that's correct, but in other ways, I think it's wrong. Now, I think it's wrong insofar as I've heard the MRM talking about concepts of things like made to penetrate and the differentiation in statistics between that and rape, and how they're more or less similar, even though they're categorized as different things. That's something which I've been hearing for years, so that's not new. However, when it comes to sexual violence, I think that there is an increasing emphasis on that by certain elements of the men's rights movement. And it's in reaction to the fact that we are seeing more and more hysteria around rape culture. It's as the 1 in 5 figure and the 1 in 4 figure and all those sorts of things, and half of women across the entirety of their lifetime, and lots of those misleading figures which have been used to push things not only into law, but also into sort of in unofficial ways, usually on like campuses and things, and encouraging campuses to establish like kangaroo courts, which basically are judge, jury, and executioner on men, even if the allegation is later proven to be false, and how those guys are still having their lives and their educations ruined. And since that stuff, I think, is increasing in recent years, well, is it really any surprise then that the organization that is dealing with men's issues is rising up as that problem expands? That doesn't really seem as a surprise to me, but maybe this author is going to say something about that.
All right, shall we get a wriggle on?
I think so. If Alison is still
We can't
present.
hear you if you're trying to.
Oh
talk.
yeah. Let's wriggle into it.
Oh yeah.
We got some footnotes and shit. I don't think I'm supposed to read that. Okay.
No, don't read the footnotes.
Introduction. The problem of sexual assault has re-emerged as a politicized issue in the public sphere, with allegations against well-known media personalities, including Canadian radio host John Ghomeshi and American entertainer Bill Cosby, and publicized sexual assault scandals at several universities. In the midst of these stories gripping North America, there is strong evidence that feminist claims have made inroads into public discourse. Media coverage has begun to deploy feminist concepts like rape culture, and there is growing outcry about institutional failures to respond. For example, Kingston 2015, Cone 2015, Venton Rubley 2014. At a time when feminists have again broken the silence around rape and sexual assault, there are also growing signs of a backlash. This echoes an earlier anti-feminist backlash that emerged in the 1990s in response to feminist social science research demonstrating the pervasiveness of sexual violence.
Okay, they always use the term backlash because they have to maintain their victimhood. They're always pushing against an already existing status quo. This is bullshit. This isn't backlash. Was questioning the lynching of black men back in the 1950s and 60s, was that a backlash? No. Progression is extending due process to more and more men. That's the process. That is literally the march of progress of human society, is to give more and more men the advantage of living under rule of law and not being lynched because they looked at the wrong woman funny. So no, actually, Lise Gotel, your entire narrative fits quite neatly and firmly and happily in the same narrative that got Black and other marginalized minority or white men, poor or Irish or Italian or whatever, wasn't acceptable in the community. Fits right just snugly into that narrative of lynching, that racist, classist, and ultimately sexist narrative of lynching men for having the eternity, the unbelievable gall of expressing their sexuality towards women who are higher status than them. That's all you're doing. This is not new. I'm putting it out there. People have always despised rape. They have always murdered men who aspired to women who were considered to be their betters. This has always existed throughout all time. And feminists will point to the laws that exist like in an Old Testament time, but they don't realize that exists within a context of tribal warfare. There's no way that a tribe would allow a judge, a foreign judge, or any judge, or any kind of judicial oversight if one of their daughters was raped. They'd go fucking kill the fucking tribe that did it. The only time they would allow any judicial oversight was when it was an issue of property, when it was consent, and everything else that had to fall out from that was, okay, well, who gets supported by what, and what's the dowry? And I guarantee they acted like tribal people do now. If a man from another tribe even looks at your woman funny, you kill him. So you're just part of that old Stone Age blood rage, hatred towards male sexuality, and wanting to protect your women's purity. Lise Gotel, there's no backlash here. You're the backlash. Okay, I'm done.
All right. A very long-winded way of saying no you, and I like it.
It works, though. Just thinking, wasn't this a supposed early backlash to the 1990s? I've been trying all throughout that to think of the name of who was the woman who started. I think it was the 1 in 5 thing in the 1990s. I'm pretty sure it wasn't Bell Hooks. Who was the author? Yes, Mary Koss. That's the one. Thank you. It was so close. I couldn't get it into my head. I swear that was the response to her. Like, wasn't her stuff in the 1990s, the early 1990s? Pretty sure it was. Like when she first put out her really dubious thing where it was
like, the 1 in 4?
Yeah, that's the one, yeah, where she was like, oh, we're gonna declare if you're a victim even if you're not, sort of thing. I swear that was the early 90s.
Oh yeah, it was. I think it was the 80s, the 90s, and it gets even worse than that because even though these women said they weren't victims of rape, she defined them as victims. But when men said they were victims of rape, she defined them as not victims.
Yeah, and we've got so much of feminism still leaning on that research, like, now.
I know. It's
and that's terrifying.
No shit. And then they have the gall to say that feminism doesn't erase male victims. Okay, whatever. All right. Shall we do a bit more of the intro?
Yes.
We got a super chat. I'm just seeing if I can bring it up. It's from Joey Jojo again.
Okay, Joey Jojo says, why not just put saltpeter in the water and just get it over with already? I'm sick of having a sex drive. This is such bullshit. Well, because then they couldn't shame you about it. I mean, they would just cut off all your balls, but then they just wouldn't be able to shame the shit out of you.
Well, they would. They'd still shame you for not being a real man because you can't please a woman. And as we all well know, unsatisfying sex lives is a grounds for a woman to divorce a man. Because, that makes perfect sense. So even if you got rid of your sex drive, they'd still shame you for it. Because feminists actually love their stereotypical everything when it suits them.
Yeah, I think all roads lead to shame.
Yeah,
they'll figure it out. They'll do it. Okay, so next paragraph of the intro.
All right. Where are we? Oh yeah. In this paper, we explore the role that anti-feminist men's rights activism, MRA, is playing in a contemporary backlash to feminist anti-rape activism. While there have been many scholarly analyses of men's rights campaigns around fathers' rights, blah blah, and domestic violence, blah blah, the only explorations of MRA activism surrounding sexual violence to date have been journalistic accounts. For example, Matcher 2014. Here we examine popular MRA websites to reveal a set of interrelated claims about sexual violence, including that sexual violence, like domestic violence, is a gender-neutral problem, that feminists are responsible for erasing men's experiences of sexual assault, that false allegations of sexual assault against men are widespread, and that rape culture is a feminist-produced moral panic. This paper contributes to a feminist literature that has critiqued MRA deployments of discourses of inequality, disempowerment, and silencing to frame feminism as persecuting and denigrating men, and as seeking to take away their human rights. While these highly misogynist discourses are challenging sites for feminist research, we contend that it is important to engage, as there is real danger that MRA claims could come to define the popular conversation about sexual violence.
If
Yeah.
you question feminism, you hate women.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
No, it's like there's no room in their worldview to say, well, maybe actually it's a good thing to question these unimpeachable claims of female victimhood. Maybe it's of benefit to women to actually question an entire mythology that defines them as victims if that mythology is completely and utterly false. I mean, what worse life can you condemn someone to? Well, I suppose you could condemn them to torture and waterboarding and, I don't know, putting needles through every bits of their body. But mentally, let's just talk about mentally. To condemn someone to a life in which you compel them to reduce themselves down to a victim in every single circumstance that they exist within, to remove that part of their self that sees themselves as having, efficacy in the greater world, of having agency over their own lives. Just cut that fucking part off, throw it in the trash. That's what feminism does to women, and we cannot question it, because if we question the fact that you break your children's or your girls' feet with boards and crack their goddamn metacarpals or whatever the hell those bones are called in the feet, that's misogyny, because everybody knows women are synonymous with broken feet. Another rant. Sorry, I'll step off my soapbox. But you can't even question that, because questioning it is misogynist. Let's just set aside questioning it for the benefit of men. You can't question it because it's misogynist, even though it is misogynist. This entire, I'm just gonna flat out say it. Feminism is misogyny. You're fucking misogynists. You hate women. You only like them as political tools. If they have any individuality, any individual expression, any individual agency, you rather appropriate it and say it, well, feminism gave that to you, or you force them to deny it exists. You guys are fucking, I just don't even have to look at what you do to men. You're fucking horrible to women. And you have the gall to say that anybody who opposes you hates women. You hate women. Okay.
Yay. So I noticed here it's like we've got the interrelated claims about sexual violence, including that sexual violence is a gender-neutral problem. Well, raw statistics bear that out as the truth. Feminists are responsible for erasing men's experiences of sexual assault. Well, that's exactly what Mary Koss did, and it's exactly what was it, Arthur, whatever his name was, in that men's rights activist paper I read however many months ago on a stream. He did the exact same thing. It's like, you don't really have feelings, That false allegations of sexual assault against men are widespread. Well, feminists keep using the FBI statistic from the 1990s when the definition was the carnal knowledge of a woman. Any ones done since then have found anywhere from, in some cases, as low as 2% up to 98%, though there was only one which found 98%, so quite content to put that as an outlier example, but generally they sit between 20 and 40%. So maybe you're seeing all of these interrelated claims because there's a lot of objective evidence to support them as being true.
No.
Just
You
a
just hate
thought.
women.
Maybe it is. Maybe there is some sort of objective measure to these things that has been repeated over and over and over.
And could
Would
you
like
imagine?
to look at it? Would you like to address it? Maybe if you actually read the damn stuff, you could actually critique it and point out why it's wrong instead of just shouting, "You hate women." But you can't even bring yourself to be that intellectually honest.
Well, here's the thing. I mean, and this is what's incredible to me is these so-called champions of women do this shit to women, and they won't even allow the possibility that what they're doing is actually incredibly damaging. Because if there's absolutely no reason to basically forcibly inject rape women with fear like feminism does every single goddamn day, I mean, I dare you, take out everything where feminism either reduces women down to victims or emphasizes their victimhood or blames men for women's victimhood. Take that all out and tell me what the hell is left. So feminism spends every day raping women with fear and refusing to acknowledge that there is good, solid evidence that maybe we should stop shoving that gigantic, throbbing feminist phallus of fear down women's throats, since they love that kind of talk so much. Maybe we should stop doing that. Maybe feminism should stop raping women with fear. Maybe that's not a good thing, because there's all kinds of evidence that everything that they base their legitimacy on is false. So essentially, they're creating a completely false narrative, a terrifying world for women to inhabit based on stuff that's provably either lacking in context or provably false. And they have no accountability for this. I'm surprised more women aren't fucking pissed that this is being done to them and in their name. That this is being done to them and in their name, and they're not rising up and saying, "You do not talk for me, and you are not going to force me to live into this hellscape of fear based on what's obviously incorrect information." And Lise Gotel has absolutely no sense of responsibility to women at all. She never stops and says, "Hey, wait a second. You know, maybe if this information is correct, I'm doing something very damaging to women." No, she never stops and asks herself that question because she don't care. Lise Gotel does not give a shit about women. If she did, she would actually engage with the information being presented. Because the worst thing you could be doing in this situation is promoting a lie about women's victimhood, a damaging, corrosive, acidic lie. Okay, I'm done.
Right.
Have I dropped again?
No, are we all done?
Yes, we're all done. Yep.
Alrighty. Situating ourselves. Situating ourselves. Don't be that guy / girl. We did not come to this research through scholarly interest. Instead, when MRAs sought to undermine a local anti-sexual violence campaign, this project found us. Edmonton has been home to an award-winning campaign against sexual assault. Don't be that guy. Labeled Sexual Assault Voices of Edmonton, SAVE, there's a link, and comprised of a coalition that included the University of Alberta's Department of Women's and Gender Studies. This campaign used social marketing directed at men as a tool of sexual violence prevention. The edgy ads from SAVE's first campaign begin with the tagline, "Just because, brackets, she isn't saying no, you helped her home, she's drunk," and end with, "Doesn't mean, brackets, she's saying yes, you get to help yourself, she wants to, F***K. The ads challenge the social norm of male sexual entitlement and seek to delegitimize common excuses for sexual assault. Don't be that guy, intentionally others the rapist. You mean the man who becomes that guy who you don't want to be. The campaign also seeks to raise awareness about Canada's strict legal standard for consent. Largely as a result of feminist law reform and litigation, Canada has moved towards an affirmative consent standard.
Lynching.
That's
No. Call it what it is. Essentially, because of women like Lise Gotel, we are moving back towards a culture of lynching. Because apparently living a generation or two without being able to hang some black man from a tree makes women like Lise Gotel really sad. So she'll just make it apply to all men, although technically it applies more to black men still. But let's not take too close a look at that. No, just she couldn't handle it. These women could not handle a generation where every man's due process rights were respected. They couldn't handle it. We had to go back. We had to have a backlash against those civil rights. We had to reaffirm the idea that the white woman's sexuality reigns supreme and should be an excuse to kill men. We had to go back to that, little we, Lise Gotel. We had to. You couldn't handle it. You could not handle it. And this is what's so funny. This is a backlash. Actually, that's sort of, this is a backlash against civil rights. Lise Gotel, you are a backlash against civil rights. You are a backlash against extending due process to black men, minority men, poor men, men below you, beneath you, underneath you, the men you don't want to look at, the men you don't want to see. You are a backlash extending due process rights to those men. That's all this fucking is, and don't conch it in this language of highfalutin moral standards. This is a backlash. This is a return to lynching culture. This is a backlash against civil rights. And I can't fucking believe that black men don't actually see that. This has nothing at all to do with liberating women. It is a reaction to extending due process to groups of men that these women do not want to have to deal with. They don't think deserve them. All right, I'm stepping off my soapbox.
All right, have you
I
fully got down
have
here?
never met a single man ever who has this bizarre entitlement that feminists speak of to sex. Like, ever.
Nope.
And believe it or not, all of those long years ago when I was a teenager and in my early 20s and whatnot, yes, you would go out on the pole with all of your mates, and the thing is, you would get drunk girls, but the thing is, once they reached a certain point, all of your mates would actually be saying, yeah, you need, like, go to the bar, get us something that's going to sober her up. Like, that was just the thing. Like, even in my years of being an absolute disgusting, filthy sea creature, where you would basically fuck anything that had a corpse when you were let off the chain, it's like, no, even then you still ain't allowed to cross that line. People are still fucking watching you. So never have I ever encountered this. I really am not sure that this is a thing that actually exists.
Well, it's a misunderstanding. For some reason, this is the other thing that's really toxic about feminist discourse, and it all is hurtful to women. It's a fundamental misunderstanding of rape. Like, they don't understand. Like, Lise Gotel does not understand rape, doesn't understand the psychology of it, doesn't understand the psychology of normal men. And she presumes to speak about this stuff when, in fact, she's actually motivated by some dark, sexually predatory desire to be able to inflict harm upon lesser men, or at least feel like she does. Well, you know what? That's just conjecture. That's my conjecture about her psychological state and why she's obsessed with removing due process. There was when I was researching one of my videos called "The Ugly Tropes," I came across the most fascinating specimen of the female subconscious that I ever have. It was a book in which a woman seduced a black guy and then he got lynched. And it was, the blurb on the cover said the payoff was the lynching. So there's some sort of dark, fetishistic, predatorily fetishistic recess corner in the female mind for a fantasy in which she seduces a man, and then because he's marginal gets him murdered because of her sexuality. And this is, I swear to fucking God, this feminist obsession with rape culture is a manifestation of that dark, ugly, fetishistic attachment to death and sex in the female mind. They want to bring back lynching because it makes them fucking hot. And they'd have, understandably, because I think that's part of what the push is they want to feel that power, want to feel that their sexuality as higher class women is respected to the point where it can remove the due process rights of men of a lower class. They want that, I believe. So this is a backlash against civil rights being extended to more and more groups of men. And because of that, I don't think they have an understanding of rape or normal male psychology. So they actually think that rape is something that any man could do as a form of miscommunication, or because society somehow taught. So men teach each other to rape, but somehow that's a thing. Like, I don't know, but maybe it is. I don't know. TLDR, Mike, do you guys like go in a locker room and then just teach each other methods to reduce, like, corner a woman in a dark? Has that ever happened?
Well, he's a dare
I
who
could
used
be
to be a
ignorant.
sea creature. He's got some great advice.
It is true.
Because I
My advice is, when you get those days where you're let off the chain, you go out, you drink everything that's in liquid form, and anything that looks like it's got a pulse or at one point had a pulse, that's fair game and your dick's going in it.
okay, but the thing is that they still talked about consent and that being like a critical factor, and that's been my experience as well. Everything that the feminists call male entitlement is, even look at the classic example from Trump. Grab him by the pussy, they let you do it. That is consent. If you listen to all of this stuff that feminists say, it improves male entitlement. At the root of all of it is the idea that you have elicited consent and desire from a woman. This is why I can't get behind their hysteria. It's like, this particular guy talks about how he can get consent from women, and that makes him a rapist. No, do not logic, feminists. And I'm just, when I say feminists, I'm talking about the ones who seem adhered to this, like some sort of hermetic seal to the idea of complete and utter female victimhood. All right, I'm just wittering now, so I'm gonna fuck off. Give myself some more water.
All right.
Shall I continue?
Sure.
Alrighty. Gotel 2010. That's you, by the way, Lisa. You've quoted yourself. There is no implied consent in Canadian law. Silence and ambiguity cannot be taken as indicating agreement to engage in sex, and consent must be active throughout a sexual encounter. Don't Be That Guy disrupts rape myths by reminding its audience that the reality of sexual assault is not solely confined to having sex with someone who is saying no. Sexual assault is legally defined as having sex with someone who is not saying yes. In July 2013, Men's Rights Edmonton, MRE, hey Nick, a group closely affiliated with the well-known anti-feminist website A Voice for Men, created a copycat poster that distorted one of Save's original ads, entitled Don't Be That Girl. The poster plays on the myth that false allegations are widespread and states that just because you regret a one-night stand doesn't mean it wasn't consensual. Lying about sexual assault is a crime. End quote. Displayed around Edmonton and disseminated online, the poster quickly spread throughout the Manosphere, the cyber world of men's rights that, as Robert Menzies has argued, unveils a truly remarkable gallery of anti-feminist content. The MRE poster and anti-feminist dialogue surrounding Don't Be That Guy stand as powerful examples of an increasingly prominent focus of MRA, the challenge to feminist claims surrounding sexual violence.
Okay, can I correct some shit in this paragraph?
Mm-hmm.
It is a crime, and regret doesn't mean it wasn't consensual. Like, everything in that poster is accurate to reality.
Yep.
There's nothing inaccurate about it. The only thing that you can say is offensive is you're isolating women out for unique focus as false accusers. But what the hell did you do, Lise Gotel? With your Don't Be That Guy campaign. This was a exact reversal. And in fact, they didn't show the ones that, showed a dumpster and said, it's a dumpster, not a place to put your infant. Don't be that mother. Again, had nothing to do with sex. It just had to do with infanticide, which women get a free pass for basically in Canada. So, I mean, it was essentially the whole idea of these ads, these satirical ads, was simply reversing what they were doing, what this advertising campaign was directing towards men. It reversed it and directed towards women, and they went ape shit because they suddenly recognized the bigotry. What a surprise. Are you going to talk there? Or?
No, I was content to listen.
Okay.
Unless you have nothing else to further that.
Also, Karen says that when, or at least she relays from Nick Redding of MR Edmonton. First of all, what the fuck do they mean by affiliated? Okay, this is really aggravating. Men's Rights Edmonton is a men's rights organization, and A Voice for Men is also a men's rights organization. There's no official affiliation between the two. So why would you put this? Ah, God, it's so annoying. And then, well, okay, so Karen said that Nick, who was the one who set up these posters, when he was in the police, the police precinct where he was constantly dealing with, somebody called him a serial killer. He had to go to the police and clear that up and all that kind of stuff. And he told Karen that there was a beat cop, like not a higher up cop, but a beat cop who came in. Oh, it actually might have been Karen herself, and thanked him for this, because this is something that is a big problem. False accusations of sexual assault. Cops have to constantly deal with it, and they waste police resources. And it was a young woman cop too. I didn't mention that. Okay, shall we move on? Just giving you a little.
I find it just interesting the difference of experience of basically regret sex. It's like, if you're a woman and you regret sex, you can literally have a guy's life completely destroyed. You just have to say, well, it was rape. I didn't consent. You know, it's like you retroactively withdraw the consent, even though you were bouncing up and down on the guy's dick, screaming, "Fuck me harder, daddy," for like 2 hours, and everyone in the building heard it. You know, it doesn't matter. You can still just say, well, I wasn't really consenting. I was drunk, and that's kind of it. And the guy will be arrested and horrendously interrogated, and in some cases they might be let off with the fact that it wasn't actually rape, but in a few cases they won't be, not to mention the fact that they will almost guaranteed lose their job, get kicked out of university, anything like that will happen. So women with their regretful sex thing, they never really, there's no incentive for them to just like learn from the experience. It's like the whole, oh, if the sex was bad, you can still do the same thing. It's like there's no like you learn from bad sex, you learn from drunk sex or anything like that. Whereas if you're a guy and you wake up next to an absolute double bagger, what's the reaction? It's, ah, shit. And you usually tell your friends and they're like, ha, that's kind of as far as it goes. And then you learn from the experience. Or you don't, and you do the same thing next week. You know, it's the difference is like just the difference in way that things are set up for one situation to the other, even though they're the same. The only change is the sex, is just astounding. I can't help but think that maybe if there was some sort of legal change for this, or if people actually gave a shit as much about men compared to women of this, would it ever equal out? I don't think so. Just interesting how men react to that situation differently from women. So like to a woman, bad sex or drunk sex, if they retroactively decide that it wasn't exactly how they wanted it to be, then it's some big personal affront to them that society has to go and defend their honor about. Whereas if a guy has drunk or bad sex, it's like, well, that's your problem. Just deal with it.
Let's move. Because this is where it starts to get personal.
All right, start up the drama train. Choo choo, motherfuckers. Let's go.
Hooray for drama. All right. MRE's copycat campaign drew us in politically and personally, though in different ways. Lisa Gottel, or is it Lise? What? Oh, I don't even know. As a spokeswoman for SAVE, my phone rang off the hook the day the posters went up. I did 10 media interviews in the space of 24 hours. I felt it was important to respond to misrepresentations disseminated by MRE's poster by emphasizing that false accusations are very rare. Instead, high prevalence rates, underreporting, high police unfounding rates, and low conviction rates cause what researchers in the field call a justice gap. Survivors are still routinely blamed, stigmatized, and disbelieved in the criminal justice system.
Okay, you don't understand what the criminal justice system is, then. Seriously. Absolute ignorance. That's called due process. You're innocent until proven guilty. They should be disbelieved in the criminal justice system because everyone deserves a fair trial. Lise Gotel. And this really is telling what they don't want to see. They don't want men to have these protections. And what a surprise, like I said, what a surprise that feminism comes out of the woodwork with all this sexual stuff after the civil rights movement, when they started to challenge the idea that due process shouldn't apply to certain classes of men. Because, yeah, that's a part of due process, is not automatically believing accusations. Lise Gotel. Shall we continue, or did you have something to say, TLDR?
I just find it bizarre that it's like, oh, instead of high prevalence rates and underreporting, there's a justice gap. It's like, maybe these unfounded rates are there for a reason. It's like the rain statistic, only 3 in 100 or 3 in 1,000? I can't remember. That number of rapists goes to jail. It's like, well, how do you know all the rest of them are rapists? Like,
Well,
some
not
of
just
them
that.
statistically might be, but if there's insufficient evidence to go any further, unfortunately, you can't just condemn people based on hearsay. It has to be provable beyond reasonable doubt, and it's like that for a reason.
The statistics on conviction for rape are identical, nearly like with any other violent crime. They're right in the ballpark with any other violent crime. So this is completely unfounded, this idea that there is a justice gap. Because the statistics don't lie. They're just right at there is no low conviction rate for rape. It's right in the same ballpark as any other violent crime. But it's just it's fascinating to me that it's due process that's in her sights, because everything in this paragraph presumes that an allegation is a conviction. That as soon as a woman alleges that that a man raped her, then that he did in fact do that. And you know what's really, 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 really interesting is that there was another group of people who had very identical rhetoric to Lise Gotel's. You know what that group? I want you to get a stab. I'll throw it up into the table. What group do you think had almost identical rhetoric to feminist rhetoric around rape culture and a justice gap and what Lise Gotel has said here? I'm just gonna guess.
West Texas Mormon Church.
The KKK.
Ah,
I
damn.
was gonna say that. I was so gonna say that. Nazis are flavor of the month, though.
The Ku Klux Klan and other white supremacist organizations in the 50s and 60s. This is repurposed Ku Klux Klan dialogue or rhetoric. They were convinced that black men were afforded, there was a justice gap in the courts that meant that white women who were sexually assaulted or allegedly sexually assaulted by black men could not receive justice in the courts, necessitating lynching. Lise Gotel, your entire argument was cribbed from the KKK. What more can you say about this?
You say that Antifa got their uniform ideas from the KKK.
Yeah, it's a palette
putting
swap.
a bunch of pins and strings on my wall here. There's almost a connection. All right, shall we carry on?
Yes.
All right. It was not long before I realized that by engaging with MRE's message in the media, I had given this group a platform and painted a target on my own head. Following my public response to Don't Be That Girl, MRE created a poster, figure 2, that one, and a blog post entitled Lise Gotel, Bigot, extraordinaire, sick. MRE 13A. Through these widely circulated attacks, I experienced firsthand the intimidation and harassment, TM, that are common tactics used by MREs in efforts to silence and discredit feminist scholars and activists.
Okay, can we just read the poster here?
Yep.
Do you want to read it?
It says theft isn't black, bank fraud isn't Jewish, and rape isn't male. Just because you're paid to demonize men doesn't mean rape is gendered. Boom. Headshot.
Don't be that bigot. And then the small print is Edmonton mayoral candidate Dawn Iverson and Lise Gotel, chair of Women's Gender Studies at the U of A, called the actions of Men's Rights Edmonton cowardly. But when Men's Rights Edmonton extended an invitation for them to debate live on radio, they declined. We're not surprised. Like all bigots, their beliefs are logically unsound and mutually indefensible, morally indefensible, and they know it. Well, yeah, because you cribbed what you're saying out of the KKK playbook, Lise Gotel. You cribbed it out of there. And like I said, what a surprise that feminism rises up and starts taking this. They just want to burn due process to the ground for the same reason that the KKK did. Because they believe that an allegation is a conviction. And I honestly think that there are some sinister anti marginalized males going on here. It's suddenly after men who never really had the benefit of rule of law and due process when charged with sexual crimes suddenly get that benefit. Feminism rises up and says, hey, wait a second. We don't like that. Jesus Christ. Oh my fucking God, minorities, you really need to wake up and realize the dragon you've gotten into bed with. Minority men. Okay.
I don't know, maybe they're into that sort of thing. Who are you to judge their preferences, Alison?
And
maybe
they
they
like
know
dragons.
maybe they know the dragon they've got in bed with. Maybe they consented.
Okay, I'm kink shaming them. I'm sorry. Okay, do you want to go to the next paragraph, Mike?
Did you draw that? Is that one of your pictures that you do?
They said it's not really a drawing. I just like traced a photo
it's
for
your
them.
artwork,
It was
right?
like
And they haven't
they
credited
sent
you
me
with
the
it?
picture. No, that I was okay with that. They sent me the picture and they're like, "Could you do something with this?" And I did it, and then they created the thing.
No, you gave Nick permission, but I don't think you gave Lise permission to use it in this academic work. Yeah, have they even used your name? I don't think they have.
It's okay.
They've stolen
I don't want to
intellectual
be.
property, Alison.
I don't want to be. I don't want to be credited in any aspect of this shit show.
Fair enough. All right.
Yeah.
Emily Dutton. When these MRE posters went up, the communities I move in were shaken. I walked to university the day they were posted and tore down several that had been put up both on and off campus. Speaking with others, it was clear we shared feelings of violation and anger. The presence of these MRE posters made my progressive community and the university area feel unsafe. Quickly, a community response was created. Feminist organizers asked that folks rip down these hate-propagating posters, and we held a series of community meetings to talk about the discomfort they created. we strategized about the best way to respond to MRE, as well as how to keep each other safe at rallies and lectures. In many ways, this paper is a way of continuing the dialogue started then. This paper. It's funny that you're fighting paper with paper, but you're claiming the paper you're fighting is some kind of horde of goddamn Nazis. Oh.
I just love this. It's like, when someone used our own tactics against us, we felt scared. We were literally shaking, and we had to take the day off of work. My God. Please reinsert your spines. For fuck's sake. You're an embarrassment to the human race. You're an embarrassment to vertebrates.
As far as academia is concerned, you're not even wrong. It's a very bad thing to call you.
Whoa. You're breaking up there, Mike.
All right. Am I all right
no,
now?
you're good now. You're good now.
Okay.
All right, let's do the next one.
Okay.
I think I'm gonna end this pretty soon and go to the. Nobody gave us super chats. What's with you guys? You'd usually do that, but you haven't been doing it. Okay, let's do about a few more paragraphs and let's go finish up in the after show.
Alrighty. Anti-rape backlash. In the past few years, counterclaims to anti-rape feminism have intensified, casting contemporary feminism as a force of stultifying political correctness. This resistance shares much with earlier manifestations of what some have called the anti-rape backlash. In the 1990s, amidst law reform, inroads as well as the first representative studies of sexual assault, post-feminists Camille Paglia and Katie Ruff. Post-feminists? That's a new one.
Second wave feminists? Does that mean third wave is post feminists?
That would follow.
No, they don't consider them to be real feminists or some shit.
Oh, right.
Factual
Does that mean
feminism.
they're post?
It's the kind they don't like.
Just finish the.
Blah and blah. Pushed back against feminist research, revealing the pervasiveness of sexual violence. They criticized a sexually correct form of feminism that they saw as convincing women to redefine bad sex as rape, in the process manufacturing a crisis. These polemical claims took the form of an ideological battle waged through the media and were eagerly taken up in a cultural context by those anxious to put to rest the troubling claims of anti-rape feminists. Anti-rape feminists. There's another category I didn't know existed.
Anti-rape feminists.
As opposed to pro-rape feminists. Oh, Mary Koss. What am I on about? Yeah.
Ah, it makes sense in a way that the author probably never intended.
Oh man. Okay, keep going, Mike.
All right.
And I just point out you've just been inundated with cash after you prodded the chat.
Wow, I should be an entitled bitch more often. Thank you, my pay piggies.
You're gonna read them out now.
Please don't respond.
You know,
to
some
that
people are going to give you like a massive. There's going to be one person in the chat who just gives you like a load of money
for saying that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, guys,
There you
don't
go.
do that. Please don't.
Well, it just happened.
What? No, what? It just. No. Well, okay. All right. So Joey Joe says gives us $5, and this whole thing makes me glad to be incel. Robots or VR will be soon anyway. I got used to being single a while ago. This is not all women, but sometimes it feels like it. Tizzy, only because I love you guys. Well, if I knew you, I might say I'd love you too. Kind of cool name though, Tizzy. Christopher Mann. You what, mate, Allison? Okay. And then there was one that just disappeared that I didn't get to. Tizzy says again, TLDR do more Dankus dungeon streams. And then Brakir says fuck feminism.
I'm quite impressed by the fact that the cancer from my chats has actually bled out into your streams now.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like, why are you sending me requests to stream things when I'm here? Why? Maybe
they feel like we have some control over you, which is ridiculous, but
I don't know. I think it's just they'd rather see me torturing chat horrendously and driving them insane than listening to this. Clearly, that fantasy is preferable to the reality.
I have to sort of
please strap our nightmare goggles back on. It's an improvement.
It is actually, I think it sounds like it probably would be preferable. Okay, let's get another couple paragraphs in. Thank you for the super chats, everyone.
I think the one you missed was Pickles McPickles, who gave us £2 and said, "Posters also give me the shakes. I am shook." Word, brother. I know that feeling. Oh, Merck gives us $5 and says, "TLDR, I resemble that cancer remark."
Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled posters. That's stupid. I should never have said that. I feel bad. Okay, I'm going to shut up now. All right, next paragraph.
Giving up in this chat by Drunken Denver, who gives us $10. All right, stop it now. I need to read. We need to be mindful of the analytic problems with the metaphor of backlash. This concept presents an overly simplified view of both feminism and anti-feminism, obscuring historical, social, and cultural complexities, and failing to capture intertwined periods of change and resistance. Nevertheless, an analysis of backlash usually draws our attention to intense periods of resistance to feminist successes. Anti-feminist counter-movements gain momentum in times when feminists make political and cultural inroads, intensifying in reaction to the apprehended loss of, or challenge to, male privilege.
Can I interpret some of this stuff?
You can try.
Black men got due process rights. I don't like it. The she is the backlash. Male privilege. They're defining due process as male privilege. The fuck is? Why do people not see this?
Well, clearly due process is a male privilege because more males go through that process than women.
Oh, and I heard due process for some reason.
Well, I don't want to reveal too much about our plot, but we are going to be putting some of you through our due process a little bit later.
Maybe that's just me shilling. Okay, we're just being silly. You know, I don't know why I heard that. I just thought it was funny. Okay, continue, Mike.
All right. We wonder if now is not one such moment, a moment as in the 1990s, marked by multiple voices pushing back against feminist struggles around rape. Struggles around rape.
Yep.
Oh, that's funny to me.
Phrasing!
Unintended hilarity. Oh, God. Okay.
The contemporary anti-rape backlash consists of overlapping sites, both academic and popular. What weaves together these expressions is their shared dissemination of a caricatured depiction of anti-rape feminism as harmful. The recent scholarly critique of carceral feminism, for example, constructs feminism as politically regressive, complicit in the consolidation of the neoliberal law and order state, associated with the rise of retributive ethos, the social disenfranchisement of the poor, and the disproportionate incarceration of racialized populations.
Lise, go tell. If you didn't want to be accused of that, maybe you shouldn't crib shit from the KKK. Just a thought. Okay, continue, Mike.
Ignoring the complex feminist politics surrounding criminalization strategies, critics single out feminist law reform campaigns as having played a central role in consolidating punitive policies. A backlash to anti-rape feminism has been similarly reflected in popular culture. In newspapers and on popular news websites, the concept rape culture has been identified as a feminist-produced moral panic. Statistical evidence of rape's pervasiveness has come under fire. Efforts to respond to sexual violence on university campuses has been condemned as abuses of due process that stigmatize innocent young men. Media critiques blame, quote, ideological, end quote, feminism for constructing men as rapists and for absolving women from taking reasonable steps, avoiding binge drinking, for example, to prevent rape.
What? Those are like completely different issues. First of all, everybody can avoid rape by not drinking too much. Because it seems to be, that I drank too much, blackout drunk, rolled into the coat room at the party, and found someone inside or straddling me, and I didn't want that to have happened. Seems to be the root of a lot of sexual assault stories. So maybe don't do that. Doesn't matter what particular thing that doesn't matter your genitals. In fact, you could, maybe lose a kidney or your wallet if that doesn't always have to be your sexual innocence. Seems like it would make sense not to drink too much or drink to excess around strangers. Just a thing.
You'd have thought so, but that's shaming women for their choices. But
Why
but I love this though. It's like the number of times that when we talk about things like social signaling of clothing and things like that, and it's never phrased as and that's totally okay for men to rape women dressed like that. But it's like, no, if you look a certain way, then you are signaling certain social things. People pick up on that. And then when you get drunk, a lot of feminists will say like, oh, what they wear is nothing because rape is a crime of opportunity. And then you go, yes, rape is a crime of opportunity. Do you know what gives someone a really good opportunity to rape? when someone's wearing very little clothing that's very easily pushed to one side and they're unconscious.
And it's not a situation where people who say that are saying that all men rape or all women rape for that matter. It's that there are bad actors out there and you make yourself more available to them by engaging in these actions. Not all men are rapists, not all women are rapists, but there are some, so take some precautions. Just like not every, dark wood has a bear in it, but enough of them do. That you might want to be careful about walking in dark woods, especially while having a steak, a rare bloody steak around your neck. Just be, the bears, they exist. Okay, so
That sounds like steak shaming to me, Allison.
why should I not be able to wear whatever I want and not be mauled by a bear? Oh, okay. But you know what's interesting is that technically, if these tips are correct, and you can reduce your rate of rape by being careful about how much you drink, or for that matter, your rate of getting your wallet stolen. If these tips are correct, then by giving women these tips, and presumably men, if feminists ever gave a shit about that, you could reduce how many people end up being raped. But that's not important. Making sure people aren't
It's
raped
victim blaming. They
is
actively
victim blaming.
discourage it.
It's more important not to blame victims than prevent them being victims in the first place. So you don't really care that much about rape. Like, how do these people sleep at night? Okay, all right.
On a very large pile of government money that they got to write this shit, I would imagine, for most of them.
Yeah. Okay, next paragraph, and then maybe we'll call it a show.
All right. We killed all the bears in Britain, by the way. You can go out into any wood you like, and there's no chance of bear rape. That's how
But you have the most adorable bunnies, and you might look at one of your bunnies and be like, "Oh my god, that's so adorable! I'm gonna have a heart attack."
Yeah,
so it's your bunnies. That's when they strike. No, but
they wait for you to have a heart attack in the wild. Then the animals descend.
We had
Run away.
We had a conversation about this. The bunnies, like we were in Nottinghamshire.
Yeah.
Nottinghamshire. Yeah.
Nottinghamshire. Okay. And me and Jonathan went out for a walk in the morning, and there was these tiny little, almost spherical balls of fuzz. We're looking at them and we're like, "Oh, those are such cute baby bunnies. Where are their parents?" And then we saw so many of them. They're like, "Wait, those are the adults? Those are the most adorable bunnies. Have you ever seen the animals that are rabbits here? They're like 3 foot long, these sinuous things with gigantic teeth that could take your face off. And you got these tiny
Teletubbies, the fucking giant Flemish ones. They're terrifying.
You got these tiny little puff balls that you just want to pick them up and squeeze them and hold them and be like, "Oh my god, you're so cute. I'm going to smuggle you home," and you're going to get eaten by a hare over in our continent, but still, you're still cute. Okay, that was a complete aside. I apologize. Let's continue.
Kill the bears and save the bunnies. These counterclaims respond to feminism's recent legal and cultural successes, specifically to the consolidation of an affirmative consent standard in law, as well as to the growing cultural acceptance of prohibitions on victim blaming. Prohibitions on victim. Wow. Backlash voices converge on common themes, including the suggestion that feminist reforms have gone too far, and that, rather than succumbing to the protectionist impulses of victim feminism, end quote, women should take responsibility for preventing sexual violence. According to Backlash claims, a feminist-inspired political correctness has taken hold, producing an ideological ban on victim blaming that prevents reasonable advice about behaviors that increase the risk of rape. In this context, it is increasingly clear that the injunction against blaming victims constitutes a radical challenge to the disciplinary messages of rape prevention, threatening to undo a set of rules that have constrained women's behavior and unsettling, responsibilizing codes that hold women accountable for the violence they experience. In response to this challenge, we are witnessing a move to reinstate gendered rules that cast women as safety-conscious victims in waiting, while leaving men's behaviors unscrutinized. As we illustrate, MRA claims about rape play a central part in this emergent backlash, positioning men as the scapegoated and silenced victims of anti-rape feminism.
Well, how about just the scapegoated and silenced victims of rape? Like, I noticed that in all of this, she mentions the fact that we talk about sexual violence against men, and then just hasn't picked it up again yet. So it's like this is just something that we don't need to address at all, because I guess it's inconvenient to her narrative, because she wants to gender this. She wants to make this a gendered crime, and she wants to make it that women are unique victims. And she wants to make it more important that we don't victim blame. Like Lise Coutelle, if you had two buttons right in front of you, and one said, give safety advice, and one said, allow a woman to be raped, just pile drive by, I don't know, the clown from It. Which button would you choose, Lise Coutelle? Would you choose the one where you give safety advice to a woman, or would you choose the one where she's brutally raped? Because it's sounding like you would prefer to choose that more women be brutally raped than give them safety advice, which makes calling yourself a quote-unquote anti-rape feminist rather ironic. And that's not even getting into the fact that you could not give a shit about male rape or rape of men, aside from trying to make it as distanced from the entire conversation about this crime as humanly possible. Okay. All right. Okay. This is a thing. This person is being paid by the government to tell us all about rape. Her entire concept is cribbed out of the KKK. She completely denies male victims in order to maintain a gendered notion. And if she had two buttons in front of her, one saying, give women actually verifiable safety advice, or have women be raped brutally, she would choose the have women be raped brutally over give women verifiable safety advice.
It's like
this is what Canada chooses.
It's like the meme with the guy like wiping his brow in front of the two buttons, thinking which one do I press, anti-rape or anti-victim blaming, and she just presses both. It's got to be both. I can press both buttons. Oh, the thing just blew up. You blew everything.
No, I think she just presses. No, I've actually had this conversation with individuals like this. They just stop talking. It's like, well, if you're not going to allow reasonable, I'm not talking about crazy crazy advice, like putting your keys in your fist. Stupidest thing I've ever heard. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about reasonable advice that has a statistical probability of reducing your rate of rape. They would rather not give that advice to women and allow more women to be raped, because victim blaming is apparently worse, and they call themselves anti-rape. People who actually prioritize one thing happening that could prevent rape. This is why people bring this up, Lise Coutelle. This is why they bring it up, because it's a hypocrisy on your point to call yourself anti-rape when you would rather hit women be brutally raped button rather than give women reasonable advice about their safety button. Just putting it out there.
Teach women to fight back. Seriously, that is the thing that will stop most women from getting raped. Because rapists want easy targets. If you fight back, you cease to be an easy target. Yeah, there might be one. Then there will be a few women who will end up worse hurt as a result from being restrained and the vengeance, but more women will not be raped.
Well, there you go.
Consider.
Something to consider. Don't get drunk. Fight back. Act confident. Learn self-defense. Go for the eyes, or scream and run.
Yep.
But of course we got our anti-rape feminists who'd rather hit the more women brutally raped, please. Yeah, we'll take that. We'll take that option over reasonable safety advice. God damn it.
Teach women to hold their hands flat and jab their fingertips into someone's Adam's apple.
Oh, okay.
You don't
all
rape
right, all
anyone
right.
after that.
Okay. That just sounds painful. Very
It,
painful.
yes, it is. It's exceptionally painful and sometimes fatal.
Yeah, I just remember when I was in wrestling and I wanted someone to let go, I would take my knuckles and grind them underneath their jaw. That usually encouraged uh, releasing pretty quick. Anyway, continue. We're done. We're done.
We could be. We've sort of reached another heading, so we could stop
Yeah,
it there.
let's transition, as it were. Goodbye, people. It's been fun. Thank you for your super chats. We're gonna now go to the after show to finish this up because my back hurts. It always hurts, actually. So this is nothing new. I know. Probably everybody else on this panel has something that hurts as well. So I really shouldn't complain. But anyway, I am. Anyway, if you want to join us in the after show, you can go to www.patreon.com/honeybadgerradio. I know everybody hates Patreon now, but it is actually a very efficient way to receive your rewards because they can handle all of that. Or if you really, really don't like Patreon, you can go to www.feedthebadger.com and become a monthly patron. And I will send you an email that will get you into our Discord, which is also fun. Anyway, shall we transition? Wish I had some coconuts. Are coconuts good
I'm
transition
kind
music?
of okay. Is this transition going to have to include the genital thing? Or can I just put on some eyeliner?
The genital thing. You're
You,
talking about rape, aren't you?
the genital.
You.
I'm talking about the transitioning.
Oh, I see. So like it's a play on transgender. Okay, gotcha. All right.
Yes.
No, eyeliner is
I
fun.
went there.
Men look good in eyeliner. Okay, end it, please, Mike. At any point now, you
I
can
do.
just.
But yeah, everything hurts.